Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity. It is time once again for some Star Trek episode polls. Now, I know you might be saying, like, well, hey, wait a second, Mark. You haven't even finished reviewing the episodes from the last poll. True, very true, but because I make these videos in advance and I schedule these episode reviews like so close together, I actually need to do this poll now so I can start working on the next batch of episodes. So even though I haven't even finished with the first one, but it's coming, be patient. It's gonna come anyway. So I got more episodes I need to review. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, finding this, blah blah blah, what I do here, as always, is I let you, the viewer, decide which episode I'm going to review. I review one episode from each of the 5 Star Trek series: original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. And so how I selected, I used this random episode generator for the first 4 and then a random number generator for Enterprise, and I randomly select the 5 episodes from each of the 5 series, and so I'll have 5 polls, and all 5 polls will be pushed in the description below. You can click on the links and they'll have 5 episodes for each of the 5 polls, and you can only select one. And after, when I'm ready to make the video, I shall select the one that has the most votes, and I'll review it. If there's a tie, I'm the tiebreaker. I'll just decide which one I wish to review out of what's tied. But other than that, I'll review the one with the most votes. So let's go see what our options are going to be. Alright, so let's start with the original series. And first option for the original series will be The Conscience of the King. This is an episode I've been wanting to review for a while. I love to quote this episode, particularly when it goes, "I am tired." I said that every time I'm tired. Anyway, it's the one with Kodos the Executioner, who's like a Shakespearean actor now, but Kirk, he was like an executioner, killed a bunch of people when Kirk was a kid, and they're trying to prove it's really him. It's a decent episode. I actually, it's a bit silly. It's not a great episode, but I rather like it. Anyway, then there's Shore Leave, an episode I don't like, which a lot of people do seem to like. It's when they go to the pleasure planet where whatever they think of happens, and I didn't care for this. I thought it was dumb. But some people like it, so there we go. I could review that. Next is The Omega Glory, an episode nobody likes, including me. It's a terrible episode that's trying to be all patriotic, chest beating, patriotic, but the plot makes 0 sense, and it's just ridiculous and stupid. So I could rip this one apart. Galileo 7, I did already review that. So we move over to Cat's Paw. Oh, I don't think I've done this one. This episode is terrible. It's almost like it's so bad it's good. It's like trying to be a Halloween episode. It is so stupid. It's just so mind-numbingly stupid. Alright, finally, Wink of an Eye, the episode where everyone moves fast. Different than Blink of an Eye, which is a Voyager episode that's far superior. But this is the one where there's an alien race takes over the Enterprise, but they're like move a lot faster. So yeah, they're time accelerated. Whatever. Anyway, those are the options for the original series. So then we go to Next Generation. Next Generation, we got Pen Pals Season 2 episode I have yet to review. Prime Directive episode where Data is talking to a young girl from a planet that is pre-warp, but it's about to, everyone is about to die. And leaves the Prime Directive dilemma. Do they save them or do they not? Da, 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 da. And next episode. And by the way, I think that was a decent episode. It was okay, not great. Subversa, I have already reviewed. That was number 3 on my worst episodes of the entire Star Trek franchise. So you should check that out. The Drumhead. Did I do this? I don't think I did this one. I've been wanting to do this one for a long time. I put it. I think it like almost won one of my Patreon polls once, but I think it was tied with something else. And I went with something else instead. I don't know. Anyway, it's an amazing episode. One of my favorite episodes. Got tons of great Picard speeches. It'd be an amazing episode to review. Next is Interface, an average episode where Geordi's mom is in danger, but it's not really his mom. It's the alien impersonating her, and it's boring. Let's be honest. Alright, next episode is Deja Q, which I have done very recently. You can check out on my channel. After that, the Schizoid Man, a very terrible episode. About Data's uncle or whatever, or was it grandfather? I don't know. Data has so many fucking relatives. He dies, so he takes over Data's body, and everyone gets pissed off with it. It's a terrible episode. I hate it. I could rip this one to shreds. Anyway, next, speaking of terrible episodes, infamously one of the worst episodes of the show. I'm actually quite surprised it didn't make my top 10 worst of the franchise. I think it was close to, but I give it kind of leeway because they were so short on budget, whatever. It's a clip show. It's a clip show episode. It's awful. Alright. So, that's next gen. Now, next we go to Deep Space Nine. Starship Done. I have yet to review this episode. You know, when I watched it recently, I always thought this episode was okay because, you know, the Defiance being hunted by the Jem'Hadar, and it's kind of like a disaster type episode. But I remember the last time I watched it when I was really analyzing for the season reviews, I didn't like it. I realized that this actually wasn't that good of an episode, so I could give it an even deeper dive if I do that. Hippocratic Oath. Ooh, I really do like this episode. This is actually a great, underrated episode in my opinion, where Bashir and O'Brien are captured by Jem'Hadar, but Bashir wants to help him, and O'Brien just wants to escape. It's a great character story. The B plot with Odo and Worf is kind of dumb, but the A plot was great. Next is Waltz, which I have already reviewed many years ago. You can check it out on my channel. Rejoined. This is another episode I've been wanting to review for a long time. I put it on my Patreon polls every once in a while, but it never wins. I think it almost won one time. Anyway, it's the episode where Dax's old fling comes on board the station, and they just so happen to both be the same gender, and so some TV stations in the South wouldn't play this episode. And I did a video on this, but it was focusing more on the portrayal of LGBTQ in the Star Trek franchise. Now, I have several people, and I've heard even people attached to the show saying that this actually wasn't the LGBTQ episode, but I disagree. I think it was, not only do I think it was one, I think it was the best one. But if I review it, I will focus more on the episode itself, because I already did a video focusing on the gender politics of it. But of course I would mention that as well, but I would focus more on the episode. Anyway, next one is Duet, which I have already reviewed. My favorite episode of all time. You can check that out. Next, Rules of Acquisition. Ignore the screen, it's not image. The Sand had a technical issue. Still talking about Rules of Acquisition, season 2 episode where Ferengi female pretends to be a male in order to earn profit. It was a decent. I don't typically like Ferengi episodes, but this one was okay. Alright, so now let's go for our final option, which isn't Image in the Sand because I've already reviewed it. It is going to be not Favor the Bold because I already reviewed that. The Siege of AR-558. And now maybe if I review this, I can dive really deep into how this episode is just copying. It's like a mirror of Saving Private Ryan. I know a lot of people who are wrong disagreed with me on this, but it totally, like, I'm seriously, if I review this episode, I'm gonna watch the final scene of Saving Private Ryan, and then I'm gonna watch the final scene of this episode, and I'll point out all the similarities. It's the exact same thing. Come on, they're playing music while there's an attack pending, and there's a fresh rookie who doesn't know what he's doing. It's the same thing. And so, anyway, but of course I'll talk more about the episode than just that if I get into it. But yeah, that's definitely going to be a highlight. Let's go ahead and get into Voyager. Cold Fire, bring the fire! It is a decent season 2 episode. Maybe not the best follow-up to Caretaker. It's a bit disappointing. They kind of dropped the storyline after this about the Ocampans living with the evil Caretaker that tries to kill Voyager because she somehow thought that Voyager killed the actual Caretaker. I don't know. That part was dumb. But it's a decent episode. It's okay. Next episode is Catharsis, season 1 episode that's quite throwaway, boring, cliche, typical snooze fest. Yeah, I can trash this one, I guess, if you want. Next, Future's End. I haven't done this. I don't like this episode as much as everyone else. This is the 2-parter when they travel back to the 1990s. A lot of people love this episode. I don't. I don't like this episode. So this will be an unpopular opinion if I review this. Just saying that. Don't be like, oh, I love this episode. I want to see what Mark has to say about it. Well, you're not gonna. If you love it, you're not gonna like what I have to say about it because I think this episode is terrible. Sorry. But anyway, next. Infinite Regress. You know, I used to really, really hate this episode. When this first came out, I thought this was the dumbest thing ever. Watching it again, I come to appreciate it a little bit more, mainly for J.E. Ryan's acting, because her acting was fucking spectacular in this episode. But it was still a bit cheesy. So it's not the worst thing ever, but not a huge fan of it. Endgame. I've already have several videos for this, and I talked about this episode 1 billion times on my channel. So let's go to Gravity. Ooh, this is another one I think I put on one of my Patreon polls at one point. This would be an interesting episode to review. I actually thought, this is another episode I didn't think that much of it for years until recently. I actually appreciate it a lot more as a strong Tuvok character story. But at first I thought it was just another boring shuttlecraft cliche crash, although it is that too, but it's still a really strong character story, so I could also review that. Alright, so now I have to get Enterprise. There are 4 seasons. So let's start with season 3, which I remember, I always forget this shit. I think it's 22. Alright, 11 episode of season 3, episode 11. And it is it? No, it's 24. Oh well. I'm still going to do episode 11, which is Carpenter Street. I've already reviewed this episode. Great. I think it's a great episode. I watched a podcast recently that trashed this episode. I like it. I don't give a fuck. I think this is a good episode. Anyway, but you can check out my review. I already did it. I think actually I did that for my series of episodes that I love that everyone else seems to hate. So that fits then. Anyway, let's try this again. Oh yeah, we'll keep with season 3, but we'll put the right numbers this time. 4, season 3, episode 4. Rajen. This is I think I called this the worst episode of season 3 when I did my season 3 review. It's such a, ooh, look at the sex appeal, sexy, and it's such a stupid episode. As much as I love season 3 of Enterprise, yeah, this episode was not good. Okay, so season 3 again. I got no problem with that. Episode 5. Okay, next option, Impulse. Meh. they filmed it with like the typical 2000s horror-esque shaky cam, zombies coming at you, but it didn't actually. They tried too hard to make this like a haunted house zombie movie, and the plot actually was kind of dumb. But it was a bit creepy, I will admit. So it wasn't the worst thing ever, but I wasn't the biggest fan. And plus, I had that whole Event Horizon thing. Anywho, go for another option. Alright, season 4 this time. I think it's 22 for this one. Yes. Alright, season 4, episode 15. Let me check. It is 22 episodes. 15 is Affliction. There we go. This, of course, I would do the two-parter, Affliction and Divergence, which this is okay, so if I review this episode, you can hear me bitch and whine and complain about how they did that stupid in-universe excuse for the makeup change for the clans, which doesn't hold up or work in any way, shape, or form, so I will spend an amount of time just whining about how stupid that is. But, and the episodes themselves, they were okay. Like, Reed is in section 31 all of a sudden, and fucking Dr. Phlox is like kidnapped. They do the kidnap capture storyline Enterprise far too often, and then like Tucker going on another ship that seemed to not actually lead to anything. He just went right back to Enterprise anyway. So, yeah. And plus, like, they had to do this high-speed maneuver just to get Tucker back on Enterprise. That was so... Oh, God. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this two-parter, but it's not terrible. But, yeah, I will complain about that makeup change thing. Anywho, season 3. I'm okay with that. Oh, did I do 24? Oh, fuck it. We'll go 13. It's supposed to be 24, not 22. But that's fine. We'll go season 3, episode 13. Which is Proving Ground. I've already reviewed this episode. So, now, I will do 24. And let's do 22, which is The Council, which I've already reviewed. Alright, so, again, 14, Stratagem. I think this is a highly underrated episode. I thought this was a really good episode. It's kind of really the real true start to the Xindi arc. I mean, sure, you see the Xindi pop up on every once in a while in those first 13 episodes, but this is when it really kicks in. And I actually thought this was a very clever episode. I think it's very underrated. So I love this episode, so I'd love to review it. Alright, last one. Season 1. Lovely. Episode 26. I believe that's probably Shockwave, which I've already done. But let me just confirm or deny. I neither confirm nor deny that this is Shockwave. It is Shockwave. Okay, so another season 1 episode. Number 9, which is Civilization. You know what? I always thought I hated this episode, but when I rewatched it recently, I actually liked it. Like, I was surprised how much I liked this episode, because when I did my season review, I was like getting my hands like, oh, I can't wait to tear this episode apart. And then I watched it, I was like, hey, I actually liked that. I actually thought it was decent. Who knows? So anyway, maybe, who knows what I'll think about it next time I watch it. We'll see if I still like it as much. Maybe I was just surprised at how much I didn't hate it. We'll see. Anyway, so those are the options. So those are your options. Be sure to vote in the polls. As I said, all 5 polls. You'll find the links in the description below. Just click on it. Vote for which episode you want to review. You can vote for all 5 polls, but only 1 episode per poll. And yeah, so I'll be choosing the winner. With the original series, I'll start with that only gonna have like 3 or 4 days before I start on that. I'm gonna start on that quite soon. But the other ones, especially Enterprise, I think you got a lot longer to wait. But anywho, yeah, thanks so much for watching and enjoying the channel and participating and whatnot. Very much appreciated. So stay tuned for the Star Trek reviews, and I'll see you next time.